me. So, hi and welcome to Creativity in the Business of Art, where we're connecting passionate work with profitable work. Today we're talking to Elena Parashko from Sydney, Australia. You're in Sydney, aren't you?
That's right.
All right. I'm glad I didn't make that up. Elena is an artist, a teacher, and an author of The Artist's Survival Guide, How to Thrive in the Visual Arts. So welcome.
Oh, thanks, Alexis. Really happy to be here to share the journey with viewers.
Yes. Well, and you started out as a teacher for many years before you transitioned to an arts career. How did that shift happen?
Well, I'd always been passionate about art. Grew up as a kid just loving anything arty and crafty, but never really was a career option. So I actually first became a school teacher. And I enjoyed the teaching, but it just kind of didn't feel quite right. So then I actually did my master's in adult education and taught adults in colleges for about 20 years, teaching communication and literacy. And again, really loved it. So it wasn't a case of, hating my day job and wanting to escape into art.
Yeah.
It's just that it felt like something was missing and always having that passion for art. And then having a full-time job and young children, there is no room for art, even sort of as a hobbyist.
Yes.
And so really it was about 10 years ago that I suppose the calling of my art just became so strong that I couldn't deny it any longer. So I just circumstances sort of led to this awakening where I thought, look, what am I waiting for? I just really are at the stage where I just want to give it a go. I don't know if anything will come of it, but I just sort of felt there'd be regret if I didn't at least try. So it really was a case of not even having specific artistic goals. I didn't have huge goals. Like 10 years ago, I had no idea that now the journey would lead me to what I'm doing at the moment.
Right.
I've given up my day job. As you mentioned, I have 3 aspects to my business now, professional artist, teacher and writer. So as the artist, I do commissions for clients. I also am represented by some galleries. As the teacher, I teach weekly classes when I am in Sydney, but then I spend on average about 3 to 4 months a year actually overseas teaching painting holidays or in overseas residencies, which is just a dream job for an artist.
Right.
And a writer as well, an arts writer. So I've written like over 200 articles for art magazines and home decorator magazines, and really the next logical step from that was to write this book. So little did I know 10 years ago when I thought, look, I just want to give art a go.
Yes.
The journey would lead me here.
Wow.
So really the way it happened is starting out by making a decision and really having a strong commitment to that and just being willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen. Now, at that stage, making it happen just meant having some time in my day to paint. That was as big as the initial goal was.
Right.
Because as I mentioned, with teaching and having small children, that's a major accomplishment just to fit in a couple of hours a week to paint.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yeah, the goals weren't grandiose at that stage. So I kind of arranged it to work extra hours on 4 days a week. And on the 5th day, I made it Friday, had my children in childcare, and that was my day to paint.
Yeah.
And just to have that creative expression. And then I thought, wow, wouldn't it be wonderful if I could actually sort of be an artist, whatever that means? And I still didn't really have the total vision of what that could mean. And my goal was really just to paint, create a body of work, have enough to maybe to sell, to maybe see, try to get representation in the gallery. And so I ended up just taking very small incremental steps towards that. And that process really involved learning new skills, developing really basic things like learning how to photograph my work with a digital camera so I had good quality artwork to put into a portfolio, simple things like, cropping photos, photo editing programs on the computer and getting rid of perspective distortion and things like that.
Right.
Setting up a website. And I had help with that because I thought, I've just got so much on my plate. I don't want to learn to become a web designer.
Yeah.
So I actually had someone create a website, but then giving me control to upload and make changes. So he sort of provided the skeleton for me, and now I kind of maintain it and work on it myself. So, and also I intuitively knew that I had to approach it from a business perspective, and I had no prior business knowledge or experience at all. And so I think this is where, like, a lot of artists kind of assume, oh, I have to know all the business theory to be able to do this. So I kind of fell into the trap initially of thinking, oh, I need to find out the theories and all this stuff about marketing and all those buzzwords that you hear that you have no idea about. So I thought I need to gain the knowledge. And as I said, with young children, I couldn't go and just do a business course. There was just no time to fit into the day. So I just joined my local Chamber of Commerce, and they regularly had, say, a 1 or 2 hour workshop during the week on different aspects of business. So it's very low-key, very informal, and I just kind of went along to those, hoping to gain some knowledge. And really what I came away with it understanding was that, well, back then, that was like 10 years ago, it really was traditional business marketing and business strategies, and it wasn't really applicable to art. I think these days there's a lot more sort of art coaching and art-driven information out there. But I just thought, like, when they had to sit down and write a business plan and decide on how many units I would sell per week, it's just like, well, it doesn't quite work that way with art.
No, right.
Yeah, so I really found it difficult to gel the two, but I did know that, sure, as a professional artist, I had to have some basic business structure or model in place to make it work. But what was the traditional model, I think perhaps didn't quite fit with how I felt my art worked. So I kind of went away from it thinking, look, I'm just going to take a common sense approach to this, because a lot of it is common sense. Things like if you get an inquiry from a customer, you reply to them pretty promptly. They change their mind.
Right, nothing self-sabotage,
Yeah. And setting up little systems for myself, like templates. So if somebody does inquire about a commission, well, what is my policy about how I work with commissions? So I had to sort of become clear with that, and I just typed it up on a page, and that's my commissions policy. I create a letterhead, so everything goes on that letterhead. So if I have an inquiry, I just email that off. This is the way I work with commissions. And so really having that common sense approach helps me have a streamlined business, and it also cuts down on time wastage, because I have the systems in place.
Right.
And I have templates for, invoices, receipts, the commissions policy, as I mentioned. Even information like when customers want to know the difference between a stretched canvas or framing work. So I actually put together a little information sheet with photographs that sort of shows them, this is what a stretched canvas looks like, and this is, how the framing option might look. So things that, as an artist, you kind of feel go without saying, but customers and clients don't sort of have that knowledge.
Right.
So I really just put together a whole lot of really simple things that helped me in my business, but also communicated to clients what I did. And a lot of that really was a common sense approach, and much of it came from experience. So early on, I may have had an experience with a client who wanted more and more added into a commission, and that sort of makes you realise, oh, hang on a minute, I need to kind of have some boundaries here or have some policies and structures. So I think when you're beginning as an artist, it can feel very overwhelming, thinking, oh, where do I start? What do I do? What's the plan? What are the things I must do? But I think to get over that overwhelmment, just take it one step at a time. And when an issue comes up for you, that's really your signal that, hey, this is an area that I need to clarify for myself. I need to standardise my process and my procedure and have something really easy and simple way to communicate that to customers so that you create that.
Yes.
So, looking back on what I have in place now, even the complexity of my website with all the aspects to it and all my policies and procedures. It didn't start out that way. It was just one small step. And as the next need arose or the next issue came up, I thought, okay, well, here's a need for me and for customers. I'll add that. And then once you're sort of comfortable with that platform, you keep evolving and changing and getting new ideas and new directions about where to go. So you sort of incorporate that and add that, but in a very sort of a common sense approach. And I think that sort of diffused that fear for me that, no, I didn't need a business degree and I didn't have to know all the theory. It really comes down to what works for me and what makes life simple and easy for me.
Yes. Well, that makes so much sense. Well, and I know that answering the same email so many times, it would save a lot of energy, too, to just have it all together in one place. Yeah, that's good.
Exactly. Yeah, so I just have like a frequently asked questions that I know people want to know about. So I have an email template. So I just copy that, put the person's name in, make any other specific adjustments. Off it goes.
Yeah. Well, and of the things that you've added in over time, is there anything that you added in and then you doubled back and you said, oh, maybe I don't want to include that. Maybe I'll take that off. Like maybe I want to offer this aspect to, I want to do live paintings on site for a band or something like that. I don't know. And then you try it for a while and you go backwards and you say, well, maybe that wasn't such a good idea. Has there been anything like that that's happened for you?
Yeah, definitely, because as I said, I sort of made it up as I went along. So there wasn't any structure I was following. And so it is a case of trial and error and not being scared about making those mistakes, because I just sort of don't think about it as mistakes or as failures. It's more course correction.
Yes.
So if you try something, I mean, it's your business. You know, you can run it any way you like. And really, we have the freedom to create the life that we want. So we can create it any way we like.
Yeah.
And also, if you are aware that you change and your goals change and circumstances change, so there is nothing wrong with changing course and maybe, as you said, doubling back and changing your mind about something if you think that something else would work better for you. But the one example that I did that did apply to me similar to that was shortly after I got my website up and I had my original artworks there, I thought, oh, wouldn't it be a good idea to diversify and add prints? And so I did add prints to the website, but then after a while, from some feedback and also my own feeling, I kind of felt that sort of devalued the worth of the originals to actually have the prints there as well.
Yeah.
So I actually took that option away from the website. So a few years later, I still did see the value of diversification. So I never kind of let go of that idea. In a gallery where I do have some original works, they also do have like cards and prints of those originals for visitors.
Right.
So that's when I thought, okay, I won't offer it on my website, but in that situation, in that gallery where all the artwork there and all the artists there have also diversified with prints, that's a smart move, because it is actually like a resort location. So travellers or may not have the money, or there is difficulty in actually transporting a huge piece of work overseas, and the cost involved with that. Whereas they can just easily pick up a print, put it in their suitcase, and they're happy with that. So there certainly was a market for that kind of diversification there, which suited me and felt better to me than having it actually on my website.
Right. That makes sense, and that kind of makes it more exclusive that way too, if it's only available in certain locations. Yeah. Yeah. That's really good.
And not every piece, only certain selected pieces.
Yeah. Like you said, you can pick which ones are, going to do that.
So it's really a matter of exploring your niche markets and working out what works best for you and what you feel comfortable doing.
Yeah. So in your learning as you go, in the steps and processes, a big problem that a lot of artists come across is how to address pricing. How did you tackle that at the beginning, and how has that kind of changed as you've grown in your career?
Okay, pricing really comes down to your attitude,
Mm.
okay, and what you feel about your work and yourself as an artist. So, because my big philosophy is be, do, have. In other words, you have to be the kind of person who can do what is necessary to have what you want. So
That's good.
every goal that you are aiming for, it boils down to basic attitudes and how you be or how you feel about yourself. And with pricing, the issues I think many artists, and I sort of faced in the beginning too with that, was that we don't know what the value of our work is.
Right.
And there is a danger that we undervalue it completely.
Mm.
Because we may not have the self-esteem or confidence to ask for what it is worth. Because as every artist knows, you have your time, you have your materials, you have the research that went into it, all those production costs, even shipping costs, framing, paying the tax man, you know.
Yeah, everything,
Commissions. So everyone sort of takes a little piece of it. So yeah, my advice when sort of artists ask me that is you really have to feel comfortable with the price that you set. So you can't set a price that is so low that you're not recouping your costs or that you feel resentful of the sale, you know.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But then you can't price it so high that it is completely unattainable by anyone and unrealistic. And it really is a case of trial and error. So the first step is to really value yourself and your work, that you are providing a service and a need for customers. So it does have value, okay? They're not doing you a favour by buying it. You are actually meeting a need of theirs. So whether that be they have a strong emotional connection to your piece and it just makes them feel great or reminds them of, you know, a significant experience in their life, you're actually providing that upliftment to them, which is a wonderful gift.
Yeah.
All the way through to, well, there are many reasons why people buy artwork, but it could range from that, like instant falling in love with your piece for profound reasons, way through to it matches their cushions or their curtains.
Yeah.
But you're still meeting a need.
Yeah, that's true.
So you really have to be confident that you have the right to ask for remuneration for that service and that product.
Yeah.
And so once you sort of feel confident, yes, I'm not going to give away my pieces anymore, which is where a lot of artists start, you know, giving away to friends and family. And there's sort of danger in that. I mean, sure, it's lovely to give people a painting, someone that you love, you give them something that you created that you love and you feel happy about that. But there is a danger that it gets to a point where you start feeling resentment that people are taking advantage of that and they're not valuing you or your artwork. So that's kind of the balance you need to get to. So once you are comfortable with asking for a price, what price?
Right.
And that has a lot to do with many variables. One is, I suppose, the reputation that you have as an artist. So a lot of it's supply and demand. So once you start exposing your work to the world and establishing a name and a reputation, there will be more of a demand. And sometimes people buy one piece and they want another piece. They refer you to friends. And so you start to build a following. So once there is some demand for your work, then naturally you can increase your prices because, law of supply and demand. It also depends on the socio-economic market where you are, because some areas can bear a higher price than others.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just a matter of trial and error, like putting paintings into an art show or into a gallery in different areas. And what I found was, sometimes the piece just sold instantly. And you thought, I could have actually asked for a higher price.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And so the next time you just sort of raise your prices until you sort of find your kind of plateau in that particular market. So really, I don't think there's any formula that sort of gives you a quick answer. It depends on a lot of different variables. Also the time and effort and resources required for your piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, because as every artist knows, people ask you, how long did it take you to paint that? And they kind of equate the time that you took with the value on it.
Yes.
Which doesn't necessarily equate because, I mean, there's that famous, common saying that, oh, it took me 50 years to do that painting, because it's not just what you created in that moment. It's your 50 years of experience and what you've brought to it and the skill and things like that.
Yeah.
So no right or wrong. For me, it's just trial and error and testing the waters and adjusting. And then, of course, over time, your work should be increasing in value because that proves its investment value for buyers as well.
Right, exactly. And then, the buyers are happy and the artist is happy as well. How much of an adjustment do you think you would make between adjusting the prices when you're trying out the market or adjusting the people or the niche, the area that you're selling your work? Where do you balance, which level do you start to tap and see where is it the pricing or is it the people? Like where, I know there's not an ideal.
Yeah, well, I think the pricing comes first. So after I do a piece, I think, okay, what is consistent with how I've priced similar things? So there is some consistency between pieces and it's sort of a logical thing. So people can look at your website and go, oh, look, there's a painting this size for this price. Why is a similar piece completely sort of out of that ballpark?
Yeah.
So there does have to be some consistency. So after I sort of decide on a price where I feel I've got a reasonable payment for my time and resources, then it's really not so much adjusting that price, because that's the price I'm happy with and that I believe is the value of that piece and what it's worth. Really then it's a case of where it goes, because different niche markets absorb different types of artwork and at different price points better.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I have a piece that's, $2,000 or $3,000, I wouldn't put it into, say, a little high school art show. Okay. Like I do have a lot of different markets. So I do put like maybe small pieces, little miniatures, prints, things like that into kind of the local school shows or agricultural shows. I don't know if you have those things in the United States.
Yeah.
I know you have big art fairs over there, which we don't have in Australia.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
something I'm very envious of.
Yeah.
So our kind of equivalent is just independent, freestanding, fundraising shows really that are run by councils or mostly schools and things like that, organisations. So for those, I wouldn't put a $3,000 painting into those. I just put small miniatures and low price things. Whereas in, resort locations where you have an international clientele who have money, and they've proven that because they can afford to go there and stay there.
Yes.
And also the gallery can take 50% commission on a sale price.
Right.
So that's, something that you need to factor in. Well, that's where, bigger pieces and more complex pieces at the higher price point would go. So it's more of a case of matching the artwork with a market that is logical for it.
Yeah. Well, and that sounds like it takes a lot of research to kind of feel out where not only the price point and the market, but also your style. You've got the tropical fish behind you.
Yes.
Have you tried markets that weren't really a fit? I certainly have shown up in the wrong place with my work, but I don't know. Is that kind of been a trial and error as well?
I think it always has to be, because you do the best you can and sort of usually start with what's close at hand and close to you, and that's where you try to market your work. And if it doesn't work, the risk is you think, oh, there's something wrong with my work, people don't like it, or it's too expensive, or things like that. And most of the time, no, your work is fine and the price is fine, it's just not the right market. So then it really is a case of researching and trial and error always. Like sometimes you can intellectually think, oh yeah, this market looks good, try and see what happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. For my seascapes, because I love doing seascapes and tropical paintings, I've tried selling them in Sydney where I'm located, with mediocre results. but I always knew that there were better locations for them, where the colours would suit people's decor and, the vibrant kind of tropical lifestyle.
Right.
So, I kind of knew that, resort locations and tropical locations would suit it better. So I actually did find, a gallery on the Great Barrier Reef in northern Australia.
Yeah.
That is just perfect.
Yeah. Well, then you can go make excuses to go visit the gallery, visit the work, and also go to the beach, right?
That's what I'm doing next week.
Right, perfect. So these residencies where you're teaching, how did that fit into this career that you have now? How are you? Because it's more than one place. Tell us more about the teaching opportunities.
Yeah, well, it really started. A bit of synchronicity, and also a very important strategy that artists need to employ is recognising opportunities and taking them. Okay. And then also, sounds illogical, but a lot of artists don't do that.
No, a lot of people don't do that, but artists, yes, can't you.
So my first... I actually should backtrack a little bit. Because I actually had that teacher training, I sort of felt confident in my teaching. I've had 6 years university training and teaching, 30 years experience. So I had that skill and that confidence that I knew I had something to offer in that area. And actually, when I sort of did transition out of my day job, the first thing I began was very logical. Next step is to actually start teaching art classes. So I started in Sydney just doing weekly classes for children and adults. And it just so happened that one of my students in my class was going to a 1-week painting retreat in Fiji.
Wow.
The Fiji Islands in the South Pacific, just about a 4-hour flight from Sydney. And I had sort of seen those advertised in magazines and had the thought to myself, oh, wouldn't that be exciting? That sounds good. But, how do you get into it? And just kind of, it was just a little spark of an idea, but I hadn't sort of taken it any further. I was just sort of focused on just getting my weekly classes set up, transitioning out of my day job. But then when one of my students actually went there, I said, oh, well, when you come back, just sort of let me know what it was about and what it was like. And so that was kind of like my research, my first-hand research into what it would be like. And she said, oh, look, you would be perfect for it. And I've spoken to the resort manager about you, and she told me all about her. So I ended up following up on that opportunity, contacted the resort. And because I did have something to offer, I had my experience, I had my training, and also because I had been writing for art magazines in Australia, I had a little bit of pulling power.
Yeah.
People kind of knew about me and about my work and, wanted to come to have sort of classes with me. And the reason why this resort and a lot of resorts have things like painting retreats and yoga retreats and, come for a week and explore your passion, whatever that may be, is that's a way to get tourists in, especially if it's in a location that's quite remote.
Yes.
That a lot of tourists don't know about. It's off the beaten path. Well, how do these resorts get people there? Very often it's by attracting them through, come for a painting week. And so because I had that pulling power as well, I said, okay, fine, let's organise a week. You do your advertising, we'll do our advertising and see if we get the numbers, and if it happens, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I did. It gave me experience in teaching a resort location. And in June I'm going back for I think it's the 6th year now.
Wow.
So every year I go back to Savu in Fiji.
That's true.
Actually, it's down the road from Anthony Robbins.
Oh, wow.
He's got his big Namali resort there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can pick any place to live, why not? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So after I did that, of course, now I had a new goal, because that had not been on my radar when I started out, making that decision about where do I go with my business. It didn't even occur to me. So that's like another very important aspect that artists should be aware of, is that you don't have to have your entire goal or entire life planned out from day one, because as you accomplish each new target or goal, it puts you in a new place where you're sort of open to, wow, here's some more opportunities that I hadn't even considered before. And now I have the experience and I have something else to offer.
Right.
So after that, I was very confident that, look, I'm the perfect person for the job. I've got all the qualifications, all the experience. I love painting seascapes, so I'm exhibition ready. I'm also familiar with a couple of languages, so I can speak with international tourists. So I was completely confident that I'm perfect for this job. And then by chance again, I just happened to see that there was, just flicking through a travel brochure, I saw that there was an art gallery in residency in a tropical island off Queensland. And I thought, oh, perfect, I would love that.
Yes.
Yeah, and because I had always known that Queensland would be my niche market for my seascapes, so I thought, oh, this is it. It's all the package in one. My seascapes would be great there. I could teach there. I'm just perfect for the job.
Yeah.
So, again, it's a case of recognising opportunity and not being scared to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
That does take confidence, but if you can sort of develop skills to back you up, that helps you with your confidence.
Right.
You know, because with competence comes confidence.
Yes.
So, sure, you can't sort of jump straight from doing nothing and being nobody and just being isolated in your studio and jumping to a residency in a tropical location. It's too big a jump.
Yeah.
But if you take one logical step after another, that's how you do achieve goals that, well, you never really dreamed of, or that you never would have allowed yourself to dream. So when I did approach them, they said no. And I thought, that can't be. I'm perfect. You know, I've got all the qualifications. I've got everything. What's the problem here? And they said, because they actually fly you to the resort, they only source local artists from the mainland. And being from Sydney, I'm a long flight that would be more expensive.
Oh, I see. Okay. That's the only reason?
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just thought, oh, that can't be. I just thought, I'm not going to take that for an answer.
Yeah.
You just don't know how this is just a perfect match, because I knew that, that area would be great for my seascapes. So this is another area that's just so important to building your business, is that persistence, okay, and not fearing rejection. Because if you'll get rejections every step along the way, and if you take it to heart and think, oh, they rejected me because they hate my work, or I can't do this, or if you take it personally, you just crumble. You won't get anywhere. So you really have to disassociate rejections or no from you as a value as an artist or a person. Right. It's not rejection of you, or it's not a failure. Very often there could be a whole lot of completely separate variables that are the reason behind that rejection. Like if you're putting work into a gallery, maybe they're not taking artists at the moment, maybe they already have pieces that are similar. There's a whole host of reasons that are not a reflection of you at all.
Yeah.
Just circumstances. So you really just have to think, okay, that's fine. I'll just either, if you're really convinced that's the perfect place, well then be persistent with that.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, if you think, okay, well that situation is not ideal, I'll try my approach somewhere else. So with this resort, I just kind of knew that this is what I wanted to do, and I was perfect, and it was just a matter of convincing them. And it took 18 months.
Oh, wow.
Of persistence.
That's surprising. I mean, I'm glad to hear that it paid off, all that following up and coming back. And
yeah, so it's really a balance between, like, I've got a really funny chapter in my book called Being Persistent, Not a Pest.
Well, and that's the big question in the middle, is those few opportunities that you say, well, this one I'm going to just keep after, but I don't want to drive them away just from my sheer persistence. Like finding that gentle yet consistent. Yeah.
So I think you will drive people away if you're desperate or needy. Okay. But if you have the approach that, no, I'm just confident, I know this is just such a good match, I really believe in this. It's very different to, oh, please, 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 I'm so needy, I'm desperate for this.
Yeah,
or like
that's a really good point.
So again, it comes from that be, do and have. You have to be that confident person that's not needy. That I just had to convince them that I have goods and services that are perfect for them.
Yeah.
And they were just reacting from, their blanket policy that no, we just take man-made artists.
Yes. Right.
Without even considering what I had to offer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't take it personally. And what I did was, just on a regular basis, if there was some news that I had to share that was relevant. So, for example, if I had won an award in a maritime art prize, that was relevant because in this gallery they just take seascapes, basically, which is what I do.
Right.
And so I would just send off, a copy of the certificate or just let them know. Or if there was a press release in my local newspaper about, some of my artwork or my seascapes, I would just say, just touching base again, thought you'd be interested to know about this seascape, won this, or whatever, anything that was relevant. And so I kind of felt like, I was being persistent, but I wasn't being a pest. I was just every couple of months reminding them that I'm here and when you have time, consider me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to be sorry.
Right.
Yeah. And so 18 months went by and then circumstances changed. I got a call from the gallery manager one day saying one of their artists was leaving, sort of moving across to the other side of the country and taking his artworks with him. And they would have a small space on the wall. And so just send 3 paintings up and we'll just give them a test and see how they go. Mm-hmm. So I boxed them up, shipped them off. And about a week later when they got there, I got a phone call from the manager saying, I haven't even had a chance to unpack everything or get you all the pricing details. I just put the first painting on the wall. Someone's come in and wants to buy it and is asking how much it costs.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
Yeah, and to me, I'm just sort of a great believer in things being meant to be. And to me, that was, that's the synchronicity. I knew this was the perfect niche market for me. And so it was just a matter of convincing them of that, and that convinced them.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know what could convince them if it wasn't that. That's
yeah, exactly. So I sort of got my foot in the door with that, and then they also have residencies where they have artists come up and have a big feature exhibition at the same time and teach art classes to children and adults. And of course, I was aiming to do that. And again, I had to prove myself. They said, no, we have to make sure that you're a proven seller first if we give you an exhibition and, you can come up and do that. So again, maybe 6 months went by of me just sending up pieces they were selling and, I kind of proved that I could do it. And so then I was invited to come up, we'll just try you and come up for one residency.
Right.
And that was really funny too because I'm actually the only trained teacher whose residencies there. The rest are, artists with no teacher training. And it's so funny when I've got a class there and it's easy for me to have, 10 or 15 children because I'm used to having a class of 30.
Yeah. Right.
So,
experience makes a difference. Yes.
Yeah. So the
never thought. Yeah.
Yeah, she sort of come down the back of the gallery saying, you're just so quiet, you're so quiet, you're still here. And she'd come and see all the work, the children sort of their heads down and working away and really at it and just kind of amazed. And she said, sometimes, when you're not here, we've got children climbing the walls and out the window.
It doesn't go so well, right?
Yeah. So, no, it's worked out really well. And that's actually where I'm going next week for my sort of next residency for 4 weeks. And, just kind of loving it. But a long process of having just one step at a time, developing my skills. As I said, by developing competence, then you also develop confidence.
Yes.
And being consistent in really going after what you want. Yeah.
Yeah. I really love your be, do, have. I might need to write that down for myself so I can kind of focus on those incremental steps. Tell us about the book that you wrote and then kind of the freebie that you've got to connect with people that are watching the video here.
Okay. Well, I've actually got 2 freebies. One is an article that I wrote for Professional Artist magazine called How an Artwork Finds Its Owner. And we've sort of touched on that.
Right.
Everything from love at first sight to matching your curtains. So, people can have a read of that. And, the other freebie is a chapter from my book called Survival Guide for Artists. Now, that book was really written as a culmination of the articles I've been writing for Australian Artist magazine, which really had a focus on that being part. You have to be before you can do, before you can have. So how to develop the attitude of, persistence and perseverance and confidence. And so I have been writing articles for professional artists, sort of inspirational pieces for I think the last 5 years. And after every issue comes out, really having a gratifying experience of readers contacting me and saying, oh, that article really resonated with me, and it was just in plain language. It was so easy to understand, no art speak. It was just exactly what I needed to hear. Yeah. And it's like really gratifying for me because everything that I write about comes from my own personal experience and issues that I had to face and solutions that I had to come up with to overcome those issues. So they're all tried and true and tested and work.
Right.
And so that really is what inspired me to write the book. I actually have 20 chapters in there. The first half of the book is sort of issues common to the mind, body and soul of the artist. So things like overcoming fear of the blank canvas, how to get into the zone and be inspired, developing the artistic voice, dealing with isolation, the sensitivity of artists, maintaining a healthy body so that you can actually do the very physical work of the artwork.
Right. Yeah.
Goal setting and planning your creativity. So they really address, the being, becoming the person that you need to be to then be able to take the next steps to do what you want. And the second half of the book is, okay, when you actually get out into the real world and start interacting with others, other people, other artists, gallerists, everybody that, clients, anyone that you could interact with, that kind of sets a whole new set of issues and, problems can arise from that. And so I talk about how to manage supporters and saboteurs, which sort of everyone's had to face. Dealing with rejection, being persistent, as we talked about, developing your reputation, your communication skills, dealing with stress and challenges, again, recognising those opportunities and creating your own, and managing success when it comes. So what I also really love about the book, it's not just sort of, theory. In each chapter, I also have little anecdotes about true stories about how I dealt with these issues and found solutions and problems. So it's sort of very practical and applicable. And at the end of every chapter, I actually have what I call a satisfaction plan, which is a form of action plan. So it takes it out of the realm of, you're just reading a chapter and yes, I'll do that one day.
Sure.
So actually committing you to make a decision, because in that action plan, it's a whole series of questions to ask yourself, things that you can implement and do right here, right now, to actually start that process of you living the life of your dreams and just taking the first incremental step. So gone are the excuses like, I'll do that one day. At the end of every chapter, you actually have some practical application about, okay, how does this apply to me and my goals, and what can I do right now to get this started?
Yes, that sounds great. Well, we will have the links on the video page, on the interview page here, as well as the link to Amazon to buy the book as well, if you'd like. So thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that.
Oh, thanks, Alexis. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I hope listeners go away with some confidence in themselves and some practical advice to, just start.
Yes, I'm sure they will. Yeah. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.